Thanks, guys. We're here with Scott Hazelton, who is the host of Today at Keeneland and works all over this great facility. He was just reminding me there's a sale coming up on Monday. But Scott, as we look ahead, this is I've said this every time I've been on the air. I've seen Lexington in 40 years do a lot of great things. I don't think there's anything at Lexington that's done any better than the Breeders' Cup in 15, and I think it's going to be the same thing this weekend.
No question about it. Even in 2020 when we had the hurdles to overcome, no fans out here, they still put on a brilliant show, and the racing delivered. And great to have the fans back out here, as we just heard from Shannon Arvin, the president of Keeneland, mentioning that over the PA here. It's going to be electric. Folks are ready for this Breeders' Cup and have been for years coming into it.
It was kind of like a bourbon bottle release today because they were lined up. The gates just opened just a few minutes ago. But, Scott, 2 days of racing. This is the preview day, and the whole weekend is going to be filled with great racing.
Yeah, 2-year-old racing is the focus today as far as the Breeders' Cup portion of the card. There's 6 2-year-old races today. Obviously, the highlights would be the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies and the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, a very early look at Kentucky Derby contenders. Sure. And there's a horse in there who's going to be the shortest price of the day, Cave Rock, in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile for Bob Baffert. He comes in from Southern California. He's dusted his competition over there. Right. He's been working lights out, and he's probably going to end up being the early favorite for the Kentucky Derby following this race today. I can't see him getting beat.
You know, I was talking to some folks earlier, folks that know a lot more about this than me, and I can't recall the name right now, but I've heard a lot of people say that the other horse in Baffert's stable that's in the race as well might be the second choice today.
Maybe. I think that he's probably going to be sitting behind Forte. We saw Forte come here and win the Claiborne Breeders' Futurity at the beginning of the fall meet here at Keeneland. But National Treasure's the colt that you're referencing. He was beaten a long ways by Cave Rock in that race at Santa Anita in the Grade 1 American Pharoah. So looking forward to seeing these young horses compete. And then on the filly side of things, early look at the Kentucky Oaks fillies, pretty wide open group. Wonder Wheel will vie for favoritism. Chocolate Gelato, I question her two-turn ability here today. Right. But Chop Chop is the direction I go in the juvenile fillies. She ran a brilliant race in the Alcibiades. She didn't break all that well, but she still rallied to make up a lot of ground, was beaten only a nose. So I'll go with Chop Chop. Probably going to end up being about the third choice in the wagering. Okay, now I'm going to go completely off the board here because it's personal interest. How about the last race of the day, the Juvenile Turf? The Juvenile Turf, I've got to reference my past
I'll tell you why
you like somebody, I'm guessing.
I like, what is it, Normandy Commander?
Battle of Normandy.
Battle of Normandy. So Rob Murphy, who was a pitcher for the Big Red Machine, a reliever, when you were in elementary school, he used to come down here on his day off, and he would study in the Keeneland Library before the internet and everything. And so he actually bought, I think it was the Dam, or I'm not sure. Anyway, he's in on this deal. Okay. And so I saw Murph out here the other day. He's with West Point and Woodford Racing. And Shug McGahee is a guy who went to Tates Creek High School here in Lexington, and he doesn't start a horse unless they're sitting on ready. All right. And Shug talked Murph and the gang into starting this horse. So he's 20-1. Who knows?
It'll be a good price. I got And the Winner is in there. That's that's
great
my pick.
Choice too. Great choice too. Let's talk about tomorrow. You were out there in a paddock yesterday, day before when we were out there. Man, the people that just showed up to get a look at Flightline, and the people, thousands that were here last week to see him work, it's pretty amazing.
It is. The only other time that we've seen this in recent history was when American Pharoah was going around, when he went to the Haskell up in New Jersey. Right. A lot of folks came out to see him. Obviously the same when he came here to race for the Breeders' Cup Classic. So he has that kind of star power, and he's going to be awful tough to beat in that Breeders' Cup Classic. I mean, he's just simply run faster times than what these horses can do. Based on times alone, he's still a good 5 to 10 lengths better than what the best is from the horses. And this is a very good group of Breeders' Cup Classic contenders.
It's a great field.
Every one of these horses has earned the right to come and compete in the Classic.
It's a difficult thing to compare athletes from different generations, whether they be equine or not. I had the good fortune of being able to see Secretariat a lot right after he retired. Next year's the 50th anniversary of his Triple Crown. But the speed numbers, I heard it put this way, that Flightline is certainly the fastest horse of our generation.
So far, yeah. And it'll be 10 plus years, I think, before we see a horse of this caliber. Wow. They just don't come around that often. I mean, when you've got to compare Flightline to Secretariat going back to the 70s, it just goes to show you how rare these types of talents are. And, he's going to be writing some history here in the next few days. And then his 2.5% of Flightline's going to be sold on Monday at the Keeneland November sale.
What do you think that'll go for?
People have asked me, it's going to be millions. There's no question. I don't know if it gets up to 10 million. Maybe it would. obviously there's a lot left for him as far as whether they race or going on to the breeding shed, but it's going to be millions of dollars.
And that's one breeding season per year, right?
2.5%. That's what you get.
Scott, listen, I know you're just crazy busy. Thanks so much for your great work and stopping by. We appreciate it.
It is always a pleasure. Enjoy the weekend.
Thanks so much. You do as well. We're coming right back to wrap things up on Everyday Kentucky right after this.